Anyone have a cell phone on them? Not a cell phone. Ran out of battery. Aren't cell phones great? Are any of us old enough to remember a world without cell phones? Oh yeah. Right? When remember those old rotary phones, right? In the house, it was like fixed to the wall or somewhere in the house, or where when you left the house, there was no communicating with people until you found a place to get to the next phone. Cell phones are so great. Do you remember the days when we used to carry cameras? Raise your hand if you have a camera on you right now. Does your phone have a camera? Oh. Interesting. We used to have a phone in the house and we used to have to carry around cameras. Do you remember when we had to carry around flashlights too? Does your phone have a flashlight? What about calendars? Do you remember the old calendars that you used to have on the wall, or however you carried your calendar, a book? Now we have all that in our cell phone too. Raise your hand if you're carrying a calculator with you today. Does your cell phone have a calculator? Do you remember the days we all have a desk drawer somewhere that still has an old calculator in somewhere? I still pull it out, and people ask me, why are you using that calculator? You have one on your phone. Now that we carry calculators with us in our phones, there's no excuse for us not to calculate the cost of discipleship. In today's gospel, Jesus talks all about calculating the cost of discipleship. He says if you were going to build a tower in that age, or today, if you were going to build a house, or a church, or a garage, or a barn, if you were going to build anything, wouldn't you first sit down and figure out, well, what is this going to cost me? Because if you start to build a house with $200, how far are you going to get? If you try to build a house with $2,000? Yeah, right. And the neighbors are going to laugh at you. Ha, ha, ha. He tried to build a house with $200 or $2,000. Look at that. Jesus said, you've got to calculate the cost of discipleship. If you were a ruler, a queen, or a king, would you march into army with your 10,000 troops if you knew that there were 20,000 troops coming at you? Yikes. Calculate the cost. What is the cost of discipleship? Jesus tells us in today's gospel. It's about taking up the cross. I know, for those of us who are Christian and Catholic, we like to wear crosses. I sometimes wear a cross too. We do it to identify ourselves as Christians, as Catholics. Today's gospel warns us it's easy to wear a cross. It's more difficult to bear the cross. Amen? It's easy to talk the talk and to flap our lips. It's more difficult to walk the walk and to be a Christian, a Catholic, to follow in Jesus' footsteps. I love today's second reading. This is the only Sunday in all 3 years when we hear from this letter of Paul. Did you hear which letter it was? The letter of Paul to Philemon? We hear that once every 3 years. Paul is writing to a slave owner. The Bible talks about slavery. And the slave owner's slave, Onesimus, has escaped and has come to Paul and said, oh, thank God, Paul, I found you. I've escaped from slavery. And what does Paul say? This is a scandalous book of the Bible. Paul says, go back to your master, to Philemon. And I'm sending you with this letter, which is what we heard today. Paul's letter to Philemon. I'm sending Onesimus back to you so that now you won't treat him as a slave. Follow me now. From now on, you're going to treat him like a brother or sister, like a family member. It's no longer going to be you putting yourself above Onesimus. Onesimus, come here now. Do this, do that. No. You're going to treat him like a family member. Sisters and brothers, are we ready for a challenge like that? Because if we really call ourselves Christian, Catholic, that means taking up the cross. It means suffering a little and embracing others even when we don't feel like loving them or forgiving them. It means following in Jesus' footsteps and doing what he would do. It means putting Jesus and others first. Have we talked about that word joy before? Because if you want joy in your life, you can't put yourself, the Y is for you, you can't put yourself in front of Jesus and or others. Onesimus, come here now. No, Jesus comes first. Which is why today's gospel is so important. Jesus says, if you love others or yourself more than you love me, you can't be my disciple. Follow me? If you love your mother or father, sister or brother, your husband or wife, your siblings, your children, if you love anyone more than me, you can't be my follower. If you want to be my follower, I come first. And others come after that. If you want to experience true joy, Jesus comes first, others come after that, and you are third. Are any of us old enough to remember Archie Griffin, a Heisman Trophy winner from the 1980s? Archie Griffin, don't you love these football players when they make a touchdown? They make all sorts of signs and dances. Well, when he made a touchdown, he would hold up the number 3. He didn't wear the number 3, so they asked him, when you make a touchdown, why do you hold up the number 3? And he said it was to remind himself and everyone else that he is third. Follow me? You are third. And in fact, that's what he called his autobiography. I am third. A powerful message, sisters and brothers, of the cost of discipleship. It's about putting Jesus and others in front of ourselves and picking up the cross. Not just wearing the cross, but bearing the cross. Putting Jesus and others first and loving and forgiving and living in peace as Jesus did.